Of all the people in this room that are happy to be going out to Eastlake this afternoon or to just be in Atlanta, I think I may be the happiest, because it was actually a year ago today, September 21st, that I was supposed to be going out to Eastlake, and instead I was walking into MD Anderson. And I will say this, to this day, there's only one reason that I ended up at MD Anderson, and that was because of golf. We looked at a map, we went on the internet, we did everything, but in the end it came down to golf. And that's where the journey really began. And I'm not going to give you a lot of golf analogies today, but I'm going to start with one. And for those of you that aren't golfers, I still think you'll be able to relate. There's two parts of any golf shot, and it's no different in my mind with cancer treatment than it is a golf shot. There's planning and there's execution. If you don't have a good plan, you're never going to hit a good golf shot. And if you don't execute properly, you're never going to hit a good golf shot. And it's absolutely the same with cancer treatment. And I was fortunate enough when I got down there, under the guidance of Dr. Buchholz, to meet Dr. Stephen Frank, who headed up my team. And he made it very clear to me on September 21st that we were going to take a lot of time to put together a plan, because without the right plan, the execution wouldn't matter. And when I look back on my experience at MD Anderson, that initial time before we ever began the proton therapy was by far the most important part of all the treatment to me. And the plan was that I had to be a good patient, and that MD Anderson had to come up with the right treatment. And so together, we taught ourselves how to understand what the correct plan was going to be. It was probably easier for Dr. Frank and his team than it was for me. But they gave me a system by which I was able to deal with individuals on an incredible team, from dental to swallowing, to psychological, to support, to you name it. And for the period of time before I began the treatment, I became pretty convinced that the single most important thing was for me to do what they wanted me to do and to abide by the plan. And to this day, I'm totally convinced that it was the plan that really gave us the path to success. The plan was proton therapy. We discussed chemotherapy, but my cancer was so rare, there really wasn't enough medical documentation that could prove that chemotherapy was going to be productive or necessary. And Dr. Frank and the team left the decision ultimately up to me and Debbie, but they were pretty convinced that this proton therapy was going to work. And the reason that it was going to work was because it was going to be a very highly intensified eradication, but at the same time, the radiation was not going to have the kind of impact on the rest of me that was going to ruin my career, and my career was going to give me a chance. And when I look back on the procedure that I went through for the proton therapy, I ended up with 31 procedures. It took me about an hour and a half every day to go through it. But the total amount of time that the radiation was actually in my head doing its work was about 11 minutes. And all the rest of the time was the planning. And the planning was an x-ray at every treatment. The planning was to make sure that that beam did its work where it was supposed to and didn't impact my brain or impact my swallowing or impact my teeth or my tongue or anything like that. And it just didn't seem possible to me that we were going to be able to accomplish this. After 31 treatments, we had 33 scheduled. It was a Friday, I'll never forget. I was going in for the 31st and scheduled to go back on the following Monday and Tuesday for 32 and 33. And Dr. Frank's assistant came in and said, "Good news, you're going home tomorrow. You're done." We said, how can I possibly be done? We were supposed to do 2 more. No, you're done. We've done everything we planned to do. It has worked. We'll see you in 10 weeks. So we went home after that 31st treatment, and I had some minimal side effects. My cheek was a little bit red. I had some burning, but I hadn't really had any significant swallowing issues. And we waited 10 weeks, and it just didn't seem possible that we could go back on the 26th of January for the PET scan and go see Dr. Frank. And that with the minimal discomfort that I had experienced, that the cancer was not going to be there anymore. Never forget that day. And we walked into his office, and he said, no evidence of disease. We went back 3 weeks ago, did another PET, went back into his office. He said no evidence of any disease. Planning was perfect. The execution was impeccable. Couldn't have happened anywhere in the world but MD Anderson. Thank you.